Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Four Pillar Series. This is episode 6. We're going to be going over 50/50s, and we're going to hop right into it. The most basic example that I can come up with is if you guys have ever played pool by chance. If not, this might be a little confusing, but not terribly too hard to understand, hopefully. It is physics and geometry, right? In pool, you will have zones on the ball. It's different in Rocket League, obviously, because we're talking about different factors. But typically, you have your. I did not switch back to my brush. There we go. Right? You'll have your four corners, and these are just little scribbles. And then you have your center, right? In pool, the way you hit this, or the cue ball, right? So let's say we hit top side, right? You'll get something called top spin, which is once you not only are you hitting the ball forward as best you can, as if you were hitting in center, right? But you're also giving it more momentum because it's going to use the it's going to spin, giving it centripetal force to go further than if you just hit it center mass, right? If you hit it on the opposite side, right, you hit it on bottom, then it's going to give it backspin. So you will still hit it forward, but then it'll come back to you. In Rocket League, once again, this is a little bit different, but principle is there's kind of 5 key points, um, and Rocket League, like I said, is different for a few different factors. One, it's not just one cue hitting the cue ball, it's two. Um, there's that. Two, because there's two, you're not always going to hit it at the same time on both sides, which can change some things. And um, three, you're not wanting some of these technical things as if you were playing pool, such as backspin or forward spin. Um, Usually, it's more side spin that you want than you want top or bottom, right? So I technically like established this into like 3 zones. The center zone, that's a terrible line. Let's try to go across. Right. The center zone, right? You have your center, your center left, and your center right. These are the 3 zones that you want to hit the absolute most in your games. Um, Off kickoffs, usually it's one of these three. If you want to hit it left or right, you're going to hit the left or right center zones. If you want the ball to stand still or pop up, let's say, then you're typically going to be aiming for this center area, maybe even a bit lower. Um, we have this red zone, or here, let's do this. Typically, you have this red zone up here, and I'm just going to cover it. This is a terrible job, but anyway, get the point. I put this as a red zone because in like 90% of your 50/50s, you never really want to hit it here. There's not a huge advantage to hitting it here because what this means is you are going to do one of a couple things. One, you are going to just straight up pop off of the ball and be thrown into the air, which means that if you have boost, you're wasting boost to get back to the ground. If you don't have boost, then you're just floating for however long and you're leaving your teammate or teammates in a bad position. And you will lose more goals to that than a lot of different things. So try and stay in the green zone, right? I would say the bottom center of this is also bad, and I would say these bottom right and left portions, right, are kind of iffy. They can be bad, they can be good. It really depends on the other person who's hitting the ball. But once again, core principle, try and stay within the green zone, and everything will be nice and dandy. And then, like I said, if you're trying to get the ball to go a certain way, so let's say you're on this side kickoff, they're on opposite side kickoff, and you're trying to get it to go this way, then typically you want to hit it same side center mass, and then vice versa. If you're on this side, they're on this side, and you're trying to get it to go this way, you want to hit this portion of the ball. um, Obviously, if they end up hitting like center mass and you're hitting this way, it's probably going to shoot out more towards your back corner, which isn't a terrible kickoff either. um, if you hit center mass, right, and they hit off the corner, then it's going to go out this way or this way. It's going to go out in a, like, I guess a cone. Yeah. So those are the first, like, just couple examples. Both of the players are typically trying to hit their edges, or their centers. And then, like I said, the third variation is one person hits center and one person hits a corner. In which case, those are all solid kicks, in my opinion. So going over to Rocket League, I'm going to show a few of my kickoffs, and then we'll look at like momentum, who hits the ball first versus second, how that affects the kickoff, having different variations. But let's hop into it. I'm going to show the player view, and then I'm going to show the like higher perspective with the fly cam. So it's a terrible kickoff, by the way. But anyway, I mess up my kickoff, and I end up kind of recovering it. I get kind of back to where I wanted to. Once again, we're jumping right before hitting the ball because we want to try and be center mass with the ball and not on the lower upper portion as best as we can. And the ball ends up going to our back corner. So let's go to the fly, go back. We're going to try and slow this down. Like I said, I recover. He's obviously first to the ball here in this scenario. He didn't mess up his kickoff as bad as I did. He hits the ball almost perfectly center mass. I'm hitting the ball on the right half, right? Which, as we just kind of went over, the ball ends up going out this kind of way, this cone to our back corner and like middle, and it goes up and out. Super standard kickoff, right? Nothing crazy out of the ordinary. Like I said, it's one of the ones that we covered. But to highlight this, him hitting the ball first here is what caused this to go this way more than this way. If we hit this at the same time, for example, the ball would have been probably like a center pinch or a center lift up to like here and then bounce off the wall, and the match goes on. But because he hits the ball, he's hitting it to me now rather than us meeting at the same point. And then I ended up hitting it back into him and not clearing him at all. If I was a little bit more to the right, it might have just cleared him entirely and still gone over there. But because we ended up he hit it into me and then I hit it back into him, we ended up pinching anyway. It went back here, right? The next thing I want to go over is I want to just hop in a training and a free play real quick, and we'll wrap up the episode. So, diagonal kickoff. The thing I want to highlight is like having multiple kickoffs. So you do your speed flip. This is a bit more advanced. Your wave dash, your standard front flip. Uh, some people do the fake kickoffs. It's usually on. Oh my god, can I get a. Okay. The fake kickoffs where you half flip back to your boost and then you play the ball if they hand it off to you. Um, and then I want to highlight one last thing. Knowledge about like how the ball's going to react in a certain way that you hit it and the enemy hits it, etc., is super valuable information. But the way you take 50/50s to the next level is the game sense portion of them, and why I say that they're more of a defensive thing than they are an offensive. They very much so can be an offensive thing, of course, but it is the way that you go about challenging in your game, which is when the enemy has the ball and they're doing a dribble play, they're doing an air dribble, whatever. The way you approach challenging in your 50/50 should be having this knowledge in mind and knowing that maybe you just mess up the 50/50 entirely. You're not putting your teammate or teammates in a worse position because of it. So there is fakes, which is when you just turn away from the ball. So let's say somebody's dribbling the ball, right? It's going this way. You're shadowing, right? You turn, you fake, and then you actually properly challenge to hit it around them. Obviously, it's kind of hard to set this up solo, but learning to fake and not just full commit on every challenge and doing something like this where you just miss the ball completely and then all of a sudden it's a 2v1 or a 1v1 where the offensive player now has a ton of space to work with and set himself up to get it past your last man is never a good thing. So the way you want to approach 50/50s is taking as much as possible and waiting to see glimpses of somebody messing up their dribble, losing control of the ball, um, being aware of like, okay, how much boost do they have to work with to get it past me? If they have a cut set up, whatever the case may be, the main reason I wanted to cover all this is to go over that, which is actually understanding what is a good challenge, when should you go for it, why should you go for it. You want to cut off plays, but you want to do it in a way that you leave your teammates in a better position. So even if, let's say, somebody's doing a dribble, right? If somebody challenges me and I'm forced to flick the ball, right? I now have to jump up to get back to it. If you go to challenge that and somebody has to flick, if more times than not, especially once again in lower ranks, they are going to do their flick and then mess it up, fumble, whatever. And then your teammate has the chance to at least cover the other options that the shooter potentially had, or they get set up with a free ball and a free play to counterattack. So that's all I had to cover this episode. I hope this gave you guys a ton of value. Obviously, if you guys have any questions, put it in the comments. I'll get back to you as fast as possible. And remember to like and subscribe as well. Yeah. Alrighty. Take it easy, guys. Peace.